Hello everyone, Arsenal Theory here with a quick video before I watch the Chelsea Madrid game later on. Really looking forward to that in the Champions League. And I wanted to start with Man City actually, and how their game yesterday affects Arsenal in a couple of weeks' time when we come to play them. I watched the whole match. I was really impressed with how City played. I felt like they were in pretty much control for most of the game. But Bayern did have a couple of moments, a couple of long shots. They did cause City a few problems, but overall it was really just complete domination by City. Bernardo Silva was just incredible. I mean, he was playing in so many different positions, really strong on the ball for quite a small guy as well. And they really just kind of just dealt Bayern out of the tie. I mean, the tie is over. Obviously a second leg in Germany, but I really can't see any way how Bayern are going to get back into that unless some dodgy refereeing decisions or something like that, which could always happen. You never know. But that's the kind of stuff that I think they're relying on. But from what I saw yesterday, I really don't think there's anyone that could have lived with City yesterday. They were just immense all over the pitch. And the level of technical quality in their back line is just outstanding, really. And their back line's quite young. I don't think it's that old, so it's only really going to get better. So in terms of Arsenal, I was watching that thinking how we're going to match up against them. And one of the things that City did really well against Bayern was they just punished them each time they made a mistake. Each time, Bayern made a misplaced pass, City were on it and creating opportunities. And so when we go to the Etihad in a few weeks' time, we really can't afford to make any errors. It's a bit of a cliche to say, oh yeah, don't make any mistakes. But we really can't afford to do that against City. And that's something we haven't been able to do. And that's one of the reasons why we haven't really beaten them in a long time. When we beat them in the FA Cup semi-final of maybe 3 years ago, I think it was, Mikel Arteta's first trophy at Arsenal. But since then, again, we've just been getting kind of beaten quite comprehensively by them. The first game this season at the Arsenal Stadium at the Emirates, we should have got something out of that, but it was errors that kind of cost us really. And one of the problems we're going to have is one of our number one central defenders, Saliba, is looking like not being fit. He's not back for the West Ham game at the weekend. And if we're going to have any chance of doing anything, we're going to have a fit Saliba, because Rob Holding coming up against this City team is it's just going to be a horror show, to be honest with you. It's just going to be terrible. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens about that. Some other things I read today, again, sort of involving Arsenal, but not really. There's some stories about Liverpool pulling out of the race for Jude Bellingham in the summer, which I think, if you're a Liverpool fan, to be honest with you, is great news, because you can't afford him. The only way Liverpool could afford someone like Jude Bellingham is if their whole transfer budget was going to be blown. You're looking at, I don't know, around 120, 130 million pound fee, plus his wages on top, plus agents' fees on top of that as well. For a club like Liverpool, it just doesn't make sense to spend all that money, because what else are you gonna? You're not gonna have any other budget left over, especially without Champions League football. If you don't make it, for other signings, you're much better off kind of buying three or four sort of £30 million players than one £130 million player. So for a club like Liverpool, just the deal never really made sense to me anyway. At those kinds of figures, even Arsenal, for clubs that are run in this kind of self-sustainable model, which Liverpool and Arsenal are, those kinds of deals at those kinds of prices, they just don't. They can't make financial sense. If you're a club like Chelsea, maybe Man United, possibly Newcastle and Man City, you can do those kinds of deals because you don't care about running a business. This is a kind of, you're backed by a country effectively. I mean, Man United are not, but they have such huge revenues that they're effectively have got the same kind of budgets as those teams have. So I never really thought he was going to go to Liverpool. It'd be great for Arsenal, but again, I don't really want us spending that much money on just one player. You're better off just getting better at scouting and finding some players at the kind of 30 million price range, developing them and then selling them, and then reinforcing the squad. And I think culturally that level of signing for an Arsenal or Liverpool just doesn't really fit. I know Liverpool have spent like the 80s and 70 million pounds on like Van Dijk and Allison, But I think that's probably should be around the limit of what they're looking to do. And even then, they'd sold players like Coutinho for for Barcelona anyway, horrific amount of money, like 140 million euros or something, I think it was. And so if I was Liverpool, I'd be looking at going, okay, well, look, can we repeat something like that? Who have we got in the squad that we could let go or get that big money for, and that we could, then replace? I got to say though, I'm not sure exactly who that would be in that current team. I mean, in the old days, they probably would have sold Salah at his peak a couple of years ago and got 120, 130 million for him and reinvested it. But obviously, they kept him in the hopes of winning some more trophies, of Premier League or another Champions League. It didn't quite happen. Mane, they didn't really get. They got 30 million for him, and Firmino's going on a free. So they kind of deviated from their buy low, sell high, reinvest model, and I mean, it nearly worked out for them, to be fair, because they nearly won all the trophies last season. They came so close, but just wasn't close enough. And so now they've got this rebuild. I've heard rumours that Chelsea might go in for Bellingham. I mean, I don't know what's going on down at that club. They're obviously just printing money. I really don't see how they're going to be able to swing that. I think he's probably going to end up at United or City. I think the right thing for him to do, if the choice came down to those two clubs, would be for him to go to City. Look what's happened to Sancho at United. It doesn't mean the same thing would happen to Bellingham, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure Man United are set up correctly to take in a player like that at 19 and develop him further on. In the old days, absolutely, United would have been able to have done that with the strong characters in the dressing room that it used to have, but I don't think they've really got that anymore. And they may get it back again, but it's going to take time. And whereas he could just go to City and just kind of slot in, and it's not going to be, it's less of a risk for him. But look, he's got a good family around him. He's made great decisions already. Going to Dortmund was a really, really good move. It's worked out really, really well for him. So I'm sure whatever he does, he's going to continue to be a kind of great player and win lots of trophies, really. But it's a bit of a shorter video today. Like I said, there's not much kind of news. The only other bit coming out were rumours that Saliba's season could be done. And I think the club might know that already, but obviously don't want everyone else to know that, so they're kind of keeping it quiet. I really hope it's not true, because if it is, then I don't see us winning the Premier League. But to be honest, I've always felt City were going to do it anyway. And that's not me necessarily being negative. It was just me kind of looking at the reality of the situation and the level you need to be at in order to finish above them in the league. And I just don't think we're at that level, which is near enough perfection. Case in point, look what happened at the weekend. If we want to beat City to the league, we can't be throwing away 2-0 leads. It's going to be very, very difficult. But anyway, I've got to get ready for the Chelsea game. Thanks for watching the vid, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye bye.